Hi folks, Ricky Tang here, and you can see that I'm back at a BMW retailer. This is BMW Motorrad Cheltenham, and I'm here, as you can see, also to ride the heavily revised for 2024 F900GS. The previous version of this model had an 853cc parallel twin 8-valve engine that produced 90 horsepower at 8,000 RPM and 67 foot-pounds of torque at 6,250 RPM. The revised engine is up to 895cc due to a 3mm larger bore, while the stroke remains the same and the numbers are now 86 by 77mm. The compression ratio is also perked up a bit and is sitting at 13:1, up from 12.7:1 on the previous engine, and the bike now puts out 105 horsepower at 8,500 RPM, and there's a small lift in torque at 68 foot-pounds at 6,750 RPM. All these changes make the bike sound a bit revier than before, but BMW say that they've managed to improve torque across the rev range. If true, this should be noticeable if you were to ride the bikes back to back, because the new machine is a claimed 14 kilograms lighter than the old one. We're now sitting at a claimed 219 kilograms wet. The main reasons for this is a switch to a plastic fuel tank rather than the previous metal one. The metal one's actually something that the F900GS model still has. Plus there's a lighter battery, a redesigned rear subframe section, and an Akrapovic exhaust as standard. Do note that the new fuel tank's capacity is 14.5 litres, half a litre smaller than the previous metal one. The 900GS is more overtly designed for off-road use compared to the outgoing 850, with lower foot pegs, higher handlebars and more suspension travel as standard. As I'll mention in the video, the model I'm riding today has the Enduro pack fitted as well, available ex-works, and it gives you handlebar risers, the M-Endurance chain, as well as a higher spec 45mm Showa fork at the front, and an upgraded shock at the back with high and low speed compression damping. Dynamic ESA suspension is not available on this model, however, and it's just reserved for the 900GS Adventure. Okay, let's get on with the ride. Now, excuses out the way first. You'll have to give me a little bit of leeway riding this bike. I haven't ridden a motorbike with more than 45 horsepower in the last 6 months. So any bike with a reasonable engine capacity is going to feel strong to me today, I think. But you know, I have been riding for over 30 years, so I should be able to figure it out. Now this bike that's come from BMW Motorrad Cheltenham has got the Enduro pack on it alongside several other packs, and when I was checking this bike out in the configurator online, I immediately gravitated towards the low suspension version, because I assumed that A, even a standard version might be a little bit too tall for me, and B, the Enduro Pack version would be even less suitable for me. Now I'm only 5'7", but I am a little bit blessed in that I've got 32-inch inside leg, and actually I found that even with this Enduro spec model, that I can get the balls of both feet on the ground at the same time. That gave me much more confidence really about the idea of riding this bike and potentially owning one. This machine is on my long list in terms of what bike I go for next. So I'm curious to see how it rides, how it feels. Well, one of the things they've done with the new model here is gone from a metal tank to a plastic tank, although I think we've lost about half a litre of capacity doing that. And they've reduced the weight of the rear subframe as well, all in an effort to reduce higher up weight and overall weight. From the rider's perspective, it all looks very nice and modern to me. I know this display has been around for quite a few years now, but it's still one of the best in the business. If we look around here at the dashboard and the cockpit, looks great, especially with these red topped Showa forks, 45mm fully adjustable. We've got the usual switches. I think we're missing spotlights, because that's where
spotlight button would be, but this bike's quite well equipped. I think I got the comfort pack, a dynamic pack, the enduro pack. So when you do spec these bikes up, and most potential owners do, we get into the realms of £14,000–15,000, but it does give you an impression of a quality, nicely integrated motorbike. Now I won't have time to fiddle with the suspension settings, but don't worry, England's full of potholes and speed humps. I should get a reasonable impression for the default suspension performance. We have a 21-inch front wheel as well, so that helps soak up the irregularities in the road, of which there are many. Well, I'll tell you what, with the Akrapovic silencer as standard, it does have a nice bark to it when you flip the throttle. Easy to find neutral. This bike over the standard GS, again with this enduro pack, also has handlebar risers. They seem to be about 1.5 centimeters perhaps. And I am surprised. I don't know if I'll get this with the camera. I'll try. Yeah, very impressed with getting my feet down. I really wasn't expecting with the enduro pack model. Much more accessible than I had envisaged. Now when you give the throttle a good tug, it doesn't leap forward like a 1250GS. Kind of unsurprising because that engine's like 300cc bigger. But it feels pretty smooth and torquey in its own right. Very quick to rev as well. You know, there's no lag as you twist the throttle. We have a quick shifter as well, up and down, liking that. The only downside I think to the gear shift action with the up and down quick shifter is the lever feels a bit soft, a bit I don't know, it feels spongy. Sponge is a good word, I think. But here I am on the dual carriageway. So what are we like at cruising speed? Well, if you've seen many of my other videos, I tend to not have great things to say about most adventure style bike windscreens. This is no different. It's noisy. Good thing is, it's not very turbulent. My head's not being knocked around really. That's something at least. But it is pretty noisy here. And as I understand it, this screen is not adjustable. A different crash helmet, you know, and a different person with a different body size could well have different results. But in terms of the windscreen, most of my chest feels protected from the wind, which is nice. I do feel it on my shoulders, the wind. But overall, my upper body feels pretty well protected from the elements. Going back to the gear lever, if you use the clutch, change gear, that spongy feeling goes away in the lever. Just having a feel for throttle response here. Second gear I'm holding it in, where am I, 27 miles an hour. Slow down. That engine pulls well, and that's not even in dynamic mode. But here in road mode anyway, talk about throttle response, here I am at 3000 third gear. Let's get it right down to 3000. Come on, let's go a bit more. And yeah, in road mode it is quick to respond to the throttle. The suspension is feeling a little on the firm side, but not harsh. Feels a little bit like the back is slightly stiffer than the front. I just feel a little bit more going on at the back end over bumps. But the beauty of fully adjustable suspension is if the road behaviour is a little bit too sporty and stiff for you, loosen it off. Yeah, with this 21-inch front, if you need to make a quick direction change at speed, you won't be able to say that this bike is flickable. It's like the front end changes direction first and the rest of the bike follows pretty quickly. Yeah, pulls willingly up towards the top end of the revs, but you can't say there's a kind of a punch at the top. No surprises. What's more surprising and impressive really is the mid-range. Yeah, with dynamic mode, especially on the throttle, I think you can feel that they're opening up those butterflies quite quickly when you ask them to. The one thing I am noticing though is there's a fair few vibrations through the handlebars, seem to be on the throttle hand and on the brake lever if you are in the habit of leaving your fingers on the brake lever. Yeah, as the revs rise, the vibrations do make their presence felt. Fine through the seat though, no issues through the seat, no issues through the pegs, foot pegs. So just the bars so far. Even the tag feels pretty smooth when you grip it. So the saddle here is, well, A, it looks good, this is nice, but it is rather firm. Yeah, not much in the way of give. The jaw is out on what that means for kind of longer distance riding. Good room to move back and forth. There is a bit of a step to the pillion seat, but before that, yeah, there's a good amount of space on this seat. In addition to the risers on this model of GS with the Enduro pack fitted, I think generally the foot pegs on this model of GS compared to the last model are lower by about 1.5 centimeters, I think, 14 mil. The knee's only got a 10-degree bend in there, maybe at most. So aside from the firmness of the seat, the ergonomics feel good to me. Handlebars not too wide. The mirrors have been vibrating at higher revs, so it's another indication that the handlebars are not as smooth as you might perhaps want them to be. Ooh, just heard a little burble on the throttle there. Hello, I bet that doesn't happen in road mode. Oh, actually it might do. I'll have to ride a bit more. We've got some burbles coming out of the Acura. And it does feel kind of lighter on its feet than the GS does. So it does feel more playful, I think, let's say, than the big Boxer. Nice to see at the controls there, both the brake and the clutch are span adjustable. Clutch is cable, but it's got, yeah, it's not very light, but it's not heavy. How can I put that to you? Maybe I should start marking clutch lever pulls out of 10. If I start doing that now, a few years down the line, you'll know what I meant with this clutch. The strength to put it, I say it doesn't require a lot of strength. Let's say a clutch that requires a lot of strength to pull it is a 10 out of 10 clutch. Not for quality, but for the effort required to put it. If it's a very light clutch, it requires 1 out of 10 effort, yeah? So, using that methodology, I say this clutch is a 4 out of 10 for strength required. Doesn't need a lot. If you're progressive with the front brake Fork dive is not really an issue, I've noticed. If you go hard on the anchors, then yeah, the front's going to drop. What can you expect, really? Back brake feels strong as well. That's pretty impressive. Does slow you up. Let's have a little bit of a stand up, shall we? See how the bike feels. If you stand forward and grip the tank with your knees, feels very nice, very comfortable. My arms are actually still bent, they're not straight, so the handlebars seem high enough. Not much to complain about there for standing. The mirrors, they are vibrating a bit, but you can still see what's going on behind you. Not quite as bad as I thought earlier on, actually. Give the throttle a good pull. Things do get buzzy in the mirrors, though. Let's summarise the bike from what I've discovered on this quick first impressions ride. I like the engine a lot. Good performance, nice and responsive. And then when things have to slow down, you get into Nadri B roads, little lanes, the nice riding position, and again the good low rev behaviour of the engine still makes it enjoyable to ride. You might say, well, if you want a road bike, just get an F900 XR or R model. But this is, you know, cut from a slightly different cloth. Yes, it's the same engine, but those bikes would not be fun off-road, and this would be much more comfortable in those sorts of conditions, as you might guess. So if you want a road bike that is more than capable of doing a bit of off-road and can do long distance, and it's got a decent engine, you know, it's not too small an engine, not too revvy, then this is worthy of consideration, I think. We'll be curious to try the F900GS when I get the chance. That bike essentially has the same engine in a lower state of tune, and it has a lower seat height, lower travel suspension, therefore should be more accessible for a wider range of people. But it promise similar performance on the road, I think, to this machine. But overall, I've had a fun time riding this bike. Like I say, it's still on the long list of potential next bikes. So for now, it just remains for me to say thank you to these folks. This is the back of their shop, BMW Motorrad Cheltenham. Let's park down here in the MOT stroke service area. Thanks for hanging out with me on this video. Questions in the comments, and I'll see you soon. Take care of yourselves. Ta-da!